18 hours, that's the margin they gave themselves. 18 hours before my bonus hit, they walked me out the door with a termination notice and a handshake. What they didn't know was that I'd been waiting for exactly that moment for 3 years. My name is Ray Callahan, 54 years old, Senior VP of Business Development at Veltrin Financial Group, Pittsburgh, PA. I'd been with that company for 24 years. I knew something was wrong the second I walked through the front door that Monday morning. The receptionist, a woman who had greeted me by name for over a decade, was staring at a scratch on her desk like it owed her money. Wouldn't look up. Wouldn't say good morning, just sat there, frozen, like she already knew what was coming and couldn't bring herself to be part of it. I hadn't even set my briefcase down when my phone buzzed. Outlook notification. Urgent performance review. 9:15 a.m. Confirm 4C. No body, no signature. Just a subject line in all caps. I'd been in finance long enough to know what that meant. You don't get an all-caps meeting invite with no context unless someone's already made a decision and just needs a room to deliver it. Let me back up a little so you understand what was at stake. 9 consecutive quarters of growth. That's what I had behind me walking into that building. I had just closed the Harlow Logistics deal, $19 million over 4 years. Built entirely from a cold call I made on a Tuesday afternoon while sitting in my truck outside of Panera. Started with one phone call, one conversation about their freight cost problem, and 14 months later, we were signing contracts in their boardroom. My bonus, $8 million, was scheduled to vest the next morning at 9 a.m. My youngest son had just gotten his acceptance letter to Penn State the week before. My wife and I were supposed to take him out to dinner that Friday to celebrate. I had a good life, a real one, the kind you don't build overnight. And then came the all-caps meeting invite with no signature. I passed Norma Beal's office on the way to the conference room. She was my direct supervisor, SVP of operations, and her door was cracked open just enough for me to catch the tone of her voice. Low, careful, the kind of voice people use when they're rehearsing sympathy. I'd seen her use it on others before. The time she walked Jenny from accounting out and called it a role evolution. The time she told a senior analyst his position had expanded beyond the current structure. I never thought I'd be next. I didn't slow down, I kept walking. But I didn't go straight to the conference room. I made a detour to my office first, closed the door, opened the bottom drawer, the one with the lock, and pulled out my original employment contract. 8 pages, I flipped to page 5 and found clause 11C. Read it once, then again. Then I ran my finger over the initials in the margin. Carl Odom's initials, Norma's, mine, and Dale Fitch, the board chairman, all still there. Every single one, exactly where I'd left them. I wasn't angry standing there. I wasn't nervous either. I was just ready. There's a difference, and it matters. Anger makes you sloppy. Ready means you've already done the work. I folded the contract, slid it into my old leather briefcase, straightened my tie, and walked down the hall. Conference room 4C had the blinds drawn. Norma was already inside with 2 HR reps I barely recognized. No laptops, no printed reports, no performance data of any kind. Just a single sheet of paper face down on the table and 3 people who couldn't quite look me in the eye. Ray, Norma said with that voice, "Thanks for making time on short notice." Of course, I said. Always. I didn't sit down. She gestured to the chair across from her. I stayed where I was. She cleared her throat. "I'll get straight to it. We're going through a restructuring, and unfortunately your position is being eliminated, effective immediately. This decision is final and has been approved at the leadership level." Leadership. She meant Carl Odom, our CEO, the man who had gotten that job because his father-in-law owned 31% of the company. Carl, who I had watched stumble through board presentations for years while I sat 2 seats down writing the talking points he was reading off his phone. I nodded slowly, understood. Norma blinked. I think she expected something else. An argument, a raised voice, maybe some desperate negotiating. What she got was nothing, just a man who had already done his math. "I'll need your badge," she said. I handed it over without a word, shook her hand, shook the HR rep's hands, picked up my briefcase and walked out of that conference room with a termination notice and 18 hours left on the clock. The hallway felt different on the way out, quieter. A couple of guys I'd worked with for years suddenly found reasons to look at their phones as I passed. One of them, a guy I had personally mentored through his first 3 years in the business, ducked into the copy room like he'd just remembered something urgent. That's the thing about a public firing. It turns people into strangers real fast. I didn't stop, didn't make eye contact. Just kept walking with the same pace I'd used coming in, because here's the part they didn't know. I had written Clause 11C myself. 3 years ago, during my Q4 contract renegotiation, I spent 2 late nights going through every line of my incentive package with a legal pad and a pot of black coffee. Nobody asked me to. Nobody was watching. I just did it because I'd seen enough people in this industry get walked out right before a big payout to know it wasn't an accident when it happened. I added Clause 11C quietly in plain language tucked into the middle of an amendment package that Carl had already told his team to push through before the end of the quarter. He wanted the headcount numbers locked before the board meeting. Nobody was slowing down to read fine print. Clause 11C said this: in the event of involuntary termination without documented cause within 24 hours of a scheduled equity vesting event, the employee is entitled to full vesting acceleration, compensation at 1.5 times base salary, and associated damages. Arbitration is waived at the employee's sole discretion if bad faith is demonstrated. Carl had initialed it on page 5. Norma signed the implementation memo the following December. Dale Fitch, the board chairman, approved the full equity plan at a Q4 board session. I had a screen recording of that Zoom call, including the part where Carl waved his hand and said, yeah, whatever legal wants, just get Ray locked in through year end. He was eating lunch when he said it. Didn't even look up. I also had 3 copies of the full contract. One in my briefcase, one in a personal legal archive on an encrypted drive at home, and one in a folder in my personal Gmail account set to auto-send to every board member at 8 a.m. The following morning, if I didn't log in and cancel it manually before then, no outside contractor, no complicated system, just a timer I had set myself, sitting quietly in my drafts folder for 3 years, waiting. I wasn't angry. I just believed in redundancy. Instead of heading to the parking garage after I left the conference room, I took the elevator up to the 45th floor. Legal and compliance. The floor smelled like it always did, printer toner and burnt coffee, the kind of place where people spent their careers reading documents nobody else wanted to touch. Hank Pruitt was at his desk when I walked in, assistant counsel. I had worked with him 6 years back when he was still trying to figure out the difference between an indemnity clause and a liability cap. Smart guy, careful with his words. More importantly, he still had a conscience, which at that level of corporate law was not something you could take for granted. He looked up and did a double take. Ray, I just heard, didn't they just? Yeah, I said. That's why I'm here. I set my briefcase on his desk and opened it. Contract pages with initials highlighted, the December memo, the DocuSign timestamps, the screen recording. All of it organized in the same order I had assembled it the night I first built the folder. Hank read it once, then slower the second time. His face stayed flat, but something shifted behind his eyes, the kind of shift you see in a guy who just realized the situation is a lot bigger than he thought. They fired you today, effective immediately, about 45 minutes ago, and your vesting date is tomorrow at 9 a.m. Correct. He set the papers down carefully, the way you put something down when you don't want to make a sound. Ray, this clause is airtight. They don't just owe you the bonus. The multiplier kicks in on top of the base payout, then damages if they contest it. We're talking $2.8 million becoming something closer to $4.9 million by the time you add the 1.5x base calculation and the penalty provisions. I know, I said. I need you to take this to Gloria Marsh, quietly if you can. I'd rather this comes apart from the inside than turn into a public thing. Hank didn't argue. He scanned everything, emailed himself the full packet, and looked up at me with the expression of a man watching a fuse burn towards something large. I'll go to her this afternoon. One more thing, I said. If anyone in HR or operations tries to pull my file and add documentation retroactively, you'll want to know about it. So will Gloria. He nodded slowly. I didn't explain the Gmail timer. Didn't need to. I left his office and took the stairs down 1 floor to find Peggy Strand. 15 years in legal compliance, the kind of institutional memory that no org chart ever captured. She remembered every clause, every amendment, every signature she had ever processed for that company. She was also the first person I had ever seen push back on Carl in a meeting without flinching. I handed her a second copy of the folder. She read the first page and looked up immediately. Is this current? This is your actual contract. Every initial is timestamped. Norma's signature is on page 6 of the December memo. DocuSign, her iPad, 11 to 43 a.m. She kept reading. When she got to the activation language, she stopped, went back, and read the paragraph a second time. Termination without documented cause within 24 hours of vesting triggers the full multiplier. She looked at me over the top of the page. Ray, you have no write-ups. No performance flags. Not a single disciplinary note in your file. Correct. They walked you out 18 hours before vesting with nothing on paper. Correct. She shook her head, not out of disbelief, but out of the specific kind of exhaustion that comes from watching an institution make a completely avoidable mistake. I'll take this to Gloria this afternoon. Good. And Peggy, if anyone touches my employment record today, I'll know about it within the hour. She raised an eyebrow, but didn't ask how. I picked up my briefcase and headed for the elevator. I had said everything I needed to say inside that building. Now it was time to go home and let the contract do the rest of the work. I drove home with the radio off, took the long way down through the Strip District, past the old warehouse blocks along the river. I didn't need to think. I had already done all the thinking that mattered. What I needed was just a few minutes of quiet before the next part started moving on its own. My wife Carol was at work. The house was empty. I made a pot of black coffee, took it out to the back porch, and sat down in the same chair I'd been sitting in since we bought the place 19 years ago. From there you could see the Allegheny through a gap in the tree line. Gray water, flat sky, a barge moving slow and steady upstream like it had nowhere urgent to be. I checked my phone once. Nothing yet. That was fine. These things take time to surface. I want to tell you what I was feeling sitting there, because I think people expect a story like this to have a scene where the guy falls apart a little, stares at the wall, pours a drink at 11 in the morning, maybe calls his wife and has to hold it together on the phone. That's not what happened. I had 24 years in that company. I had poured the foundation, framed the walls, and handed them the keys. And somewhere around year 18, I started to understand that the people sitting in the corner offices weren't the ones who built the building. They were just the ones who got there first with the right last name or the right father-in-law. Carl Odom was a decent enough guy in a room full of people who already agreed with him. But put him across the table from a client who had real questions and he started looking at his phone. I had made peace with that a long time ago. What I had not made peace with was being treated like a file folder they could close when the number got inconvenient. So no, I wasn't falling apart on the back porch. I was just waiting. There is a very specific kind of patience that comes from knowing exactly what you put in place and trusting that it will work. I had that. I sat with my coffee and I let it work. My phone buzzed at 11:47 a.m., a text from Hank. Gloria has the folder. She's reading it now. Sit tight. At 12:03 p.m., I got a message from Peggy. Norma pulled your employment file at 11:31. Tried to add a performance flag, backdated to last quarter. The edit triggered your alert. Automated packet went to the full audit committee and board of directors at 11:35, 4 minutes flat. I read that twice. Then I set the phone face down on the arm of the chair and looked out at the river. Here's what had happened inside the building while I was sitting on my porch. Carl had called Norma about 20 minutes after Gloria requested an urgent meeting. He told her to find documentation, anything that could justify the termination with cause, a write-up, a coaching note, an email chain, something. Norma went into the HR system and tried to insert a backdated performance flag tied to a project review from the previous quarter. What she did not know was that I had set up a simple rule in my personal Gmail account 8 months earlier. If my employment record was modified without a corresponding clause authorization tag, a pre-written email would send automatically to the audit committee and every board member on file. No contractor, no complicated system, just a Gmail rule, and a draft I had written one evening after a glass of Jameson when I decided I was done leaving things to chance. Norma hit save on her edit at 11:31 a.m. By 11:35, the full packet was in the inboxes of 9 people, including Walt Oakes. Walt was an independent board director. He and Carl had a history that Carl had mostly forgotten and Walt had not. 3 years back, Carl had quietly maneuvered Walt out of his seat on the compensation committee by convincing 2 other members that Walt was not aligned with the current strategic direction. What that meant in plain language was that Walt had asked too many uncomfortable questions about executive pay, and Carl wanted someone more agreeable in that seat. Walt was not a hero. I want to be clear about that. He did not forward that packet to the full board because he cared about fairness or because he felt some obligation to do the right thing. He did it because he looked at the contents of that email, recognized immediately what it represented, and understood that this was the cleanest opportunity he was going to get to remind Carl Odom that the board was not his personal furniture. At 11:52 a.m., Walt forwarded the full packet to every board member with one line attached. This requires immediate review. By 12:15 p.m., Gloria Marsh had scheduled an emergency session with the compensation committee, the CFO, Carl, and Norma. No agenda distributed, just a time and a room number. I found out most of this later in pieces from Hank and Peggy and one board member who called me the following week. But I can tell you what happened in that conference room because enough people were in it and enough of them eventually talked. Gloria put the contract on the table. She did not ease into it. She turned directly to Clause 11C and read it out loud, all of it, while the room stayed quiet. Then she closed the folder, took off her glasses, and looked at Carl. "Carl," she said, and her voice was steady and flat in the way that a very experienced lawyer's voice gets when she already knows the answer to the question she is about to ask. "Please tell me you paid him before the termination went through." Carl leaned back in his chair. "We fired him before the bonus vested. That was the whole point. You fire him before it vests, you don't owe it. That's how it works." The CFO looked up from his laptop. Gloria did not raise her voice. That clause was not written to prevent payment. It was written to trigger it. The 24-hour window does not protect you. It activates every financial protection Ray built into this contract the moment you sign the termination notice. She turned to the CFO. Run the numbers. He already had. He turned the screen around so the room could see it. Bonus, $2.8 million. Multiplier under Clause 11C. Base salary calculation at 1.5x penalty provisions if contested. Damages tied to the bad faith modification of employment records, which Norma had now handed them on a plate. The number on the screen was $409 million. And that was before the audit committee finished pulling the files on the two other executives who had been terminated in the 12 months prior to my case, both within a week of their respective vesting dates, both without documented cause, both quietly settled for fractions of what they were owed. The room understood what that meant before Gloria said it out loud. This was no longer just a contract dispute. It was a pattern, and a pattern changed everything. Norma submitted her resignation the following morning. No press release, no farewell email to the team, just a 2-line message to HR, effective immediately, citing personal reasons. Everyone inside the building knew what it meant. You don't resign the morning after an emergency board session unless someone has already told you that your choices are resignation or termination with cause on your record. Carl was reassigned. That was the word they used publicly. His new title was Executive Liaison, Internal Alignment, no staff reporting to him, no budget, no office, just a shared workspace on the 38th floor and a calendar that stayed mostly empty. One of the junior analysts sent me a photo of his new badge a few weeks later. I looked at it once and put my phone down. I did not feel sorry for him, but I also did not feel the kind of satisfaction I thought I might. Mostly, I just felt like something that had been unfinished for a long time was finally done. The settlement confirmation came through on a Thursday morning. I was back on the porch, same chair. Carol was inside making breakfast. I could hear the radio through the kitchen window, a weather report, rain expected by the weekend. My phone showed one new email, subject line, settlement agreement, Veltran Financial Group, attachment, signed, countersigned, dated. I opened it and read to the bottom. For the $900,000. I sat with that number for a minute. Not because I was overwhelmed, just because I wanted to actually feel it land, instead of moving straight past it the way you do when you've been in motion for days, and your brain is still running ahead of the moment you're actually in. 24 years, 4 being $9 million, no court, no arbitration, no LinkedIn post, just a contract, a clause, and the patience to let it do exactly what it was designed to do. I went inside and poured myself a second cup of coffee. Carol asked how I was doing. I told her we were going to be okay. She already knew that, but sometimes you need to say it out loud anyway. That afternoon, I opened my texts and scrolled to Dale Fitch's number. Dale was the board chairman who had approved the original equity plan, initialed the amendment, and then watched from a comfortable distance while Carl and Norma drove the company into a $4.9 million wall. I typed one sentence, Clause 11C, line 22. No explanation, no follow-up, just that. Line 22 was the closing statement of the clause, written in language I had chosen myself after a long evening and a glass of Jameson. When I was finishing the draft and wanted to make sure the final line said exactly what I meant it to say, failure to honor the terms herein shall constitute not only breach, but a systemic lapse in judgment, subject to restitution, review, and reputational consequence. Carl had initialed it. Dale had signed off on the full package. Neither of them had read it carefully enough to understand what they were agreeing to. That was their choice. I had made mine 3 years earlier, sitting at my kitchen table with a legal pad and a pot of coffee, writing a clause that said plainly, if you try to take what I earned, it will cost you more than you saved. I hit send and set the phone on the counter. 2 weeks later, I got a call from a firm called Westridge Capital. They had heard about the situation, not the details, but enough. Word travels in this industry, especially when a company suddenly loses a senior VP and the board chair goes quiet for a month. They were not calling to offer me a job. They were calling to offer me a seat, founding partner, strategy division, real equity, not a bonus that vests on someone else's schedule. Full autonomy over client relationships, a role where what I built would actually have my name on it. I flew out to meet them on a Wednesday. Sat across a conference table from 3 people who asked good questions and listened to the answers. Nobody checked their phone while I was talking. Nobody waved their hand and said, yeah, whatever, just get him signed. They had read my track record, and they wanted to know how I thought, not just what I had closed. I took the offer, gave them my answer before I got back on the plane. The 3 senior clients I had managed at Veltran, including the Harlow logistics account, made their own decisions in the months that followed. I did not solicit them. I did not make calls or send emails nudging them in any direction. But clients pay attention when a company quietly pushes out the person who has been managing their account for years and replaces them with someone who needs 6 months just to learn the file. By spring, all 3 had moved their business. That is not a revenge story. That is just how relationships work. I spent 24 years building the foundation of that company. I poured every corner of it. They thought they owned the building. Turned out I still had the deed. And here's what I want to say to you directly, because I think it matters. If you have been in your company for 10, 15, 20 years, doing the real work while someone else takes the credit, go home tonight and read your contract. All of it. Every page, every clause, every line somebody initialed without reading. You may have more protection than you think. And if you do not, now is the time to build it in, quietly, carefully, before you ever need it. The fine print is not where they hide the traps. It is where you build your exit. I know because I wrote mine in plain sight and they walked right past it for 3 years. Do not wait until they call the meeting to start reading.